This week on Too Noobs, how much it costs per day for you to return to the office and other things your employer doesn't want you to know about. Then, video chatting makes you feel bad about your appearance and other things Zoom doesn't want you to know about. Next, Bigfoot spotted in broad daylight and other things the New York Post wants you to know about. Last, people complaining about baseball's playoff scheduling format are crybaby poopy heads. We'll explain. You weren't supposed to hear it, but start the music. That's right. We welcome you to episode 159. And gentlemen, before I get, I got to get this off my chest here. The podcast is supposed to be a sanctuary. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells because you guys are always putting out on social media the things we say in here. I don't think it's right. The way. So things are going down.
So we shouldn't open our beers now?
Are you calling me a terrorist? I think you are.
No, I'm calling you a baseball writer of America is what I'm calling you.
Well, I mean, that's a terrorist.
But as one of us mentioned last week, who actually remembered, because I don't think John or I would have known.
Yeah, who
otherwise.
said that? I don't know.
It would have been Mr. Matt over there. This is the official, I guess, 3-year, even though it's a weird number, 159, the official 3-year anniversary of the launch of Two Noobs Talking.
Look at that.
The podcast with nothing to say. And so gentlemen, I think we all picked a nice beverage here. We toast to 3 years.
Gentlemen.
Thank you for dragging me into this. It's
Happy
been
to have
blast,
you.
even though I haven't been here for 3 years. But,
happy to have you. Absolutely.
Yeah. Any words before I formally introduce you all for the episode?
Well, I mean, I would have never thought 3 years ago when John was dragging me kicking and screaming to do this with him.
That's not true, actually.
No, that is absolutely 100% true. I would have never thought that it would have lasted this long. However, the fun that I've had getting together with you guys, talking about it. Steve, of course, you and I have done it in person, which is even great. We've done that as a little bit of a Two Noobs history type of deal. So we've made history along the way. It's been great. We talk about a lot of stuff, a lot of crap, unfortunately, that we have to deal with. But outside of that, I think we give a good, overview of what goes on and, each one of our thoughts. And I've never gone, that's a bunch of BS. I can't believe I'm hearing this out of your mouth. I've never had to say that. It's wonderful. I love it.
Well, I'm going to tell the police it was all your idea. John,
there you go.
Anything you'd like to say?
No, not really. Thanks to everybody who, as we've talked about it, this was an idea I had for fun. Me and Matt had some great conversations along the way in 2020, and it only made sense to, hey, why don't we give something a try?
Let's invest heavily in microphones and headphones.
And why not?
All that kind of stuff. Yeah,
and we'll just go for it.
Spend your money. Spend your money.
But it was at a time where social media sucked, and it was a good outlet creatively, I think, for both of us. In the beginning, that's the one thing that seeing Matt grow in his creativeness has been amazing for me. Just from the beginning, we didn't know what we were doing, and now
no clue.
Now like me and Matt will have a conversation, and it's like just a 5-minute quick, like, hey, I'm doing this, and it's so far and above what it was in the beginning. It's great. Yeah. And then adding you, Steve, was just it was the icing on the cake of the actual design of it, because we were missing something and we couldn't figure out what we were missing. And then when we had you on, it kind of was instant. We kind of were like, that's what we're missing. And then we had you on again, and it was like, that's really what we're missing. So let's
just add him in.
Yeah. And that was how it went. Like, we should ask him. Yeah. And that's when I sent you the text, and you were happy to do it. That made me happy.
Yeah, it was absolutely true. One thing I will say too, I guess we'll plug Riverside.fm.
Oh, absolutely.
In case you ever want to do your own podcast, they are terrific. They're much better than Zoom. When John and I were first doing Zoom, good grief, that was a piece of crap. Not to lie, but I mean that's what we were dealing with. We were dealing with all kinds of juggling issues, and where do we put us, and all that kind of stuff, and overlays, and it was just a disaster.
Audio issues
all over the place. Yeah,
it was terrible.
It was awful. Yeah, so Riverside.fm for all of your podcasting needs. Shameless plug over. Steve.
Right. Well, the one thing I'll say, I can't remember if I've told you guys on the podcast before, but I'm sure I've mentioned it to you. The first video you guys put out, I remember seeing it on YouTube one morning when I'm scrolling, and I see you guys, and it says Two Noobs Talking Episode 1. And I'm like, they're going to talk for an hour about Episode 1 of Star Wars? What
Pretty much,
And then I go in, and you guys are talking about Joe Biden. I'm like, well, this is not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can't get away from Joe Biden. He just continues to exist in our lives. It's awful.
Well,
Go away, Joe.
Go away.
Not anytime soon, unfortunately. Well, for those of you who just joining us who have no idea who we are, that over there, that's Jim and John Tracy.
There you go.
Over there is Mix and Matt Craig. I'm slamming Steve Murray. I'm rhyming today, motherfuckers.
Biggie got nothing on you.
Yeah, that's right.
Go.
That's
there
right.
You go.
So, why don't we hit the fun fact and over 40 rant brought to you by W Energy Drinks. Visit w.gg. Enter the promo code 2Noobs Talking, TOONOO Talking. For the 3-year anniversary, get 10% off your order. It's not really for the 3-year anniversary. You get it all the time. But
that's right.
Yeah. I'm just throwing it out there for you. All right, John. Fun fact before we get to the serious over 40.
Well, it's a serious fun fact because it'll go with the over 40 and the concept of if you've been living under a rock and you have no idea what racism or China or any of that is like, we're just going to take a simple fun fact here. So between 1965 and 1991, China banned Sam I Am, the book by Dr. Seuss, because their reasoning was it made Marxism look bad. So
wait.
So crazy.
Awesome.
Crazy is crazy. That's all. That's all I have to say.
I wasn't the book called Green
Eggs and Ham. Yeah.
Green Eggs and Ham.
Sam I Am was eating green. What they wanted,
but they were mad at him. They weren't like they were not mad at Dr. Seuss. They were mad at the character because it made Marxism look bad.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I've never read that book and thought Marxism once.
I was going to say the same exact thing. I'm sure within the last 10 years, I probably read that book to my kids.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm reading it as an adult, where you would bring in the kind of adult undertones that sometimes these things have. I
can't either. I can't either.
I remember reading that book when I was young too. I can't remember anything like, oh God, this is awful. It makes Marxism look bad. And I'm thinking, I'm 3.
I think
what do I know?
My point of bringing that up is you can't argue with crazy.
No, you cannot.
You really can't. So
you really
if
cannot.
They think if they're gonna call it it's making it look bad. Oh, all right, genius.
Okay, you do you.
Like, whatever.
Actually, now I think about it, which one was Sam I Am? Was that the one who was being forced to eat the green eggs and ham, or the one forcing?
No, I think he was forcing everybody.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
Yeah.
How dare we? Oh
yeah.
God, this is making Marxism.
How dare we have a cartoon character that's trying to get people to try different things, but China is going to call it Marxism. Got it. Okay.
Well, I mean, you would not try communism on a train. You would not try communism on a plane. You would not try communism with a fox, or
I will not ever try communism.
You couldn't put communism in a box.
Yeah, right.
You could, but you got to tape it up and throw it in the ocean.
and let it sink to the bottom of the Marianas Trench.
Exactly. Let it never come out again. Oh, good
Exactly.
Lord. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, so we'll move on with that to the over 40.
Mm.
Mr. Craig, you have the honors, although like last week, we'll probably all chime in.
Yeah, I guess we can make this collective over 40 since we talked about it in pre-production and we all were pretty much on board with this. Gentlemen, the great philosopher George Santayana once said, quote, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." It's a terrific aphorism.
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 You keep putting an extra M in there. Stop it.
It's the teeth. It's almost falling out. But gentlemen, it is amazing to me. It is absolutely stunning and amazing to me. Maybe not surprising, though, that we have a bunch of racist people, a bunch of anti-Semitic people running in Congress and in our colleges and universities. And these are yet the very same people that also claim that they're not racists. When in fact they are. I'm talking specifically in regards to the current conflict that's going on between Israel and the Hamas terrorist organization, otherwise known as the Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO. Gentlemen,
I'm not sure they're actually the same thing.
and probably not the same thing, no. But within the PLO, Hamas resides. I think Hamas is kind of like taking advantage of the PLO and essentially
Yeah, they're
kind of
terrorists.
saying, "Oh yeah, we can help out," and then all of a sudden it's like, they're launching thousands upon thousands of rocket attacks on the Jewish state. Now, we're not going to go into a huge history with this, but I will say this: the amount of anti-Semitism I'm seeing from the squad, most notably AOC and all the other lunatics that she runs around with, in addition to the Harvard law professors and college students, the wiser than thou people that are really being an absolute pain in all of our asses because of everything that's coming out in the Holy Land, of the absolute atrocities that are happening by the hands of Hamas against the Jewish people. Say what you will about the whole conflict, but one thing I will not stand for is a bunch of racists. And I will call out racism when it is done. And there's no question that the squad is racist. There's no question that the Harvard people up there in their decadent couches are racists. No question about it. And I really cannot wait until the election of 2024 when it will be the single worst day of AOC's life when she is booted out of office. I'm going to put that right on the table.
Your mouth to God's ears, man.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, there's no justification by siding with a bunch of terrorists and calling them freedom fighters when they are not freedom fighters.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. The freedom fighters who forcibly took control of the Gaza Strip. Those freedom fighters.
Yes.
So the freedom fighters who probably suppress women.
Yep.
Over there on the Gaza Strip.
Check.
Those freedom fighters.
Those freedom fighters.
Real
Yeah.
bastions of freedom. Those guys.
Yeah. Those that basically have in their own constitution, Steve, the eradication of the Jewish people. Now, you go ahead and you try and negotiate a settled peace with those folks when step one on their constitution says we want to eradicate the Jewish people. I think some lunatic tried that in the 1930s and we had a world war that came about that. Cost 75 million lives to get this guy out of this earth, essentially. And this is what I mean by George Santayana. If we do not pay attention to what happened in the past, we are doomed to repeat what goes on. And that's because we forget. We forget a lot. That's in our nature. And it's like we have to remember what happened. So I'm here today to call out racist AOC, racist squad, racist Harvard, anyone else out there. Come at me. I don't care. I don't give a flying you-know-what about you. You're racist. There's a chance for you to repent from it, but just please do the latter. Please repent. Call out what you've done and say that you're sorry. Just bend the knee and say that you're sorry. All can be forgiven. you just have to just bend the knee and just say, you know what? I can't deal with this anymore. I'm sorry for what I said. That's it. That's all my rant. So
Well spoken.
thank you.
All right. So on that note, we will move to less important things.
Thank you.
Or more important.
Whew.
Topic 1. We're going into a Fortune article here. And I thought Matt was actually going to be pissed off when I sent this around pre-production, but because he
I've settled into my.
Okay, good, good. I'm glad you finally see the ways of hybrid working. Returning to the office is costing you $51 per day. Study finds. Returning to the office won't just cost you more time; it could add another $51 or more per day to your expenses, according to a new survey. The annual State of Work report, or SOW report, from video conferencing company Owl Labs, first provided to Fortune, finds the average spend of returning workers is $51 per day when they work in person. The total breakdown is as follows: $16 for lunch, $14 commuting costs, $13 breakfast/coffee. I tend to think that's probably more on the coffee side than breakfast, but
Most
what have you?
likely.
$8 for parking. Employees who work a hybrid schedule, the company says, spend just $36 per day. Last year's Owl Labs data looked mostly identical. Hybrid workers spent the same additional amount, $51, on in-person days in 2022, showing that a full year of new norms have done little to make an office return more convincing for most workers. Companies that want to bring workers back to the office this fall might try providing a stipend, free lunch, or pre-tax commuter benefits to help offset these in-office costs, Frank Weishaupt, Owl Labs CEO, told Fortune last year. And Matt, you used to beat the drum, but in pre-production, we talked to you. These costs sound legit to you.
Yeah.
And you kind of see that it is expensive to be back in the office.
Yeah, no question, Steve. Yeah, I think it, especially in an economy like this where the inflation is so high, right, guys? I mean, that's probably the biggest thing that everybody is really tight on their wallets, or should be, more than anything else. It just costs so much more now to be able to buy all kinds of stuff, whether it's groceries, gas, you name it. And the last thing you want to do is go into the office spending that kind of money, every single day. So yeah, I get it. I totally understand it. I am now in my current work situation 100% remote. I have not been back into the building probably in the last, I want to say 4 months. So I have not, have not gone in. I've basically just worked from home. And I've kind of like reaccommodated my office my office desk, I guess you could say. Now a very fancy curved monitor. Oh my, 32 inches. So I have that. And so that allows just so much more room. I don't have to worry about moving one thing, one screen over from another and all that kind of stuff. And I'm able to see more things, which is great. But yeah, I think the only thing I miss obviously is the people and all that kind of stuff. But that being said, in regards to the article, no question. I mean, it is really, really bad out there. And whatever you could do to save a buck or two, all for it. Absolutely all for it. Especially when it leaves your pocketbook like that.
Yeah, I can certainly, pre-pandemic when I was going into the office almost every day to get train passes, you're spending over $1,000 a year. And I've been saving that the last couple of years from not having to go into the office every day. John, you took a look at this breakdown too, and you think this is fairly accurate.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. It is extremely accurate. The one thing I don't do in my life is I do not work for free.
Nor should you.
Yes, exactly. I'm
good.
a hard line on that. Like, I will not do anything for free. It's not in my heart for pushing a corporation forward for free. It's not what I do. I can see the groundswell of this, why it's important to push back against the corporations, because the parking. If you have a complex, let's just say in the city, you should probably have some sort of availability for free employee parking. And if you don't, that should be in a paycheck somewhere, because why are you forcing someone to blah blah so like breakfast? I mean, I don't eat breakfast, so my breakfast budget is very, very small. It's $7 every 2 weeks for coffee that I buy at Target. Like, my breakfast budget is extremely small because I don't eat breakfast. My lunch budget's a little bit more, but I also pack my lunch mostly. So I don't
Same here.
I don't buy lunch, you know,
Yeah.
when I'm at work. So there commuting costs. I remember when I used to work in the city, Steve, that was highly, and I was only making a little under 40 grand a year, and I had to commute by train. And it was a huge, and that was back in, the late 90s, early 2000s.
Thousands.
It was a big a budget move. Like, I couldn't afford other things because I had to commute to work, because it was easier to commute than to drive, because the gas and the parking and all that would have been so much more. I had to ride the train, and that was still cutting into. So I could see. I read another article off of this one after you sent this one. It was talking about how the younger generation, 18 to 26, they, after the pandemic, they've been really, really closed in on their finances, and they stopped eating out, and they stopped doing ridiculous stuff, because they realized during the pandemic where they were bleeding money out, and they're living. This poll said basically this 83% of Gen Z was living a better life now. And I was like, that's a really good.
That's a positive
really good poll to see, because they're the ones that are dealing with this, because they're the lower level employees. If you look at it, like we're in the generation to where we have a little bit more money and a little bit more say in our schedules than the workers that are just coming into it. That's where they're really getting hit with that.
So where do you guys then stand in regards to meeting up with your coworkers? I mean, obviously, John, you're out in the field a lot, so you see them a lot more, I think, than Steve and I would.
No, I actually don't see anybody. I'm extremely.
You don't see anybody.
But it's a simple phone call. My boss and I plan phone calls. We have good conversations. We have good. I see maybe one or two, upper management maybe 3 times a year, but it's not the quantity, it's the quality. If I have an issue, I call. If they have an issue, they call.
I think that's huge.
Coworkers,
is huge.
There's such an open forum in my kind of job scope that there isn't any. If something needs to get done or something needs to change, it just can be said and it could just be done. It's very independent and great. And that's what I feel is the workforce in office is missing. Steve, you talk about in your field how you guys were already going to it pre-pandemic. That's what I think the world was going to. It's just
it just happened quicker.
Yeah, it's just certain companies weren't ready for it right away. But we're all adults. One of the upper management said this to me the other day. We were talking about a safety issue and blah blah blah. It was something that happened to me and my coworker. It was a safety issue, and he said something, and I love the verbiage he used, and I will continue to use this in my career. He's like, "We're all adults here, so it's not like we need to. I don't need to, bend your ear for long."
Right.
It's learning how to manage people better and stop the old school mentality of you need to have a dictator over top of people or people won't work.
I think that's
once we can get rid of that.
Yeah.
The sky's the limit. I don't have to talk to my boss, because you know what? I get up when I get up. I go to work. I complete my tasks. I finish my paperwork. I move on to the next day and the next day and the next day. I don't need someone to change my diaper. I really don't. I don't need.
No.
I need someone every once in a while when something doesn't go right to bitch at. and I got that, and that's great.
Yeah.
And you know what? I feel better after that. And then we can go on and work for another 3 months and not have to worry about it. That's
yeah,
what most people need.
I think the relationship is probably the biggest thing, John, to what you're saying here in that regard. Because I this last week, I went to a project management seminar, basically at Penn State, and it was like 50 people were there. And it was really good. It was kind of like we're all talking about, like, what can we do to try and resolve, projects, when they come up, all that kinds of issues, things along those lines. And the facilitator that talked about it was basically saying, listen, it's really important that you establish a relationship. Sometimes you have to do it in person in order to get a project done, of which I am in complete agreement with. Sometimes you do have to meet somebody face to face,
Absolutely.
as opposed to just doing this all the time, talking to
absolutely.
somebody on the phone, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
You are limited, though. I get it when it comes to like online. If they're not there physically within like 15 miles of you, I could totally understand that completely. It's more important to do this than it is to actually get together. I think there's a balance that's there, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head, Johnny. It's just a matter of how you are able to treat your employees. I think probably the biggest issue that I now face in the organization I work for, and I'll be frank on this, the problem that we've got that I've run into is there's not much talking going on. It's pretty much like every time there's a talk, it's like, well, I don't want to bother you.
That is
Maybe I want to hear from you. It's okay that you could say, hey, Matt, what's going on? How was your weekend? All that kind of stuff. Nothing. Part of it is on me too. I got to go out there and just say, hey, what's going on? They have 15 minutes to talk, things along those lines. It's a matter of just trying to balance that relationship within the working environment in this now new age that we find ourselves in that really can vault an organization forward, I guess you'd say, make it more successful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
True. I mean, we have a policy where Monday through Thursday, if you're calling we use Teams. If you're calling someone on Teams, we want you on video because we want to be able to see you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we don't have to dress up. So, we don't mind seeing each other kind of wearing normal
like this
clothes.
Because you're not an overlord.
Yeah.
You're just
right. But we understand the need to be able to see people.
Yeah.
On a daily basis, because out of sight, out of mind, right? I mean,
very
exactly.
true.
You can be talking on the phone, but if you're not seeing them, it can be a little distant. So, and I think it's a good policy to have. And we also have quarterly get-togethers, which helps kind of socially, get everybody together. And if there's business that needs to be dealt with at that time, it can be dealt with in person, which is nice. And then you can kind of kick back and have fun. So I do think there are ways to remedy kind of the in-person issues that don't require you to spend $51 a day.
Yeah,
that's insane. That's like $250 a week. And you
can
multiply like 4 weeks. That's $1,000
a week. Yeah,
for a
so
month.
52. So you're talking 52 grand a year.
Yeah.
I mean, let's round it to 50 week vacations and stuff. But,
sure.
It's a high number, and it always used to amaze me the number of people at my office who would go out to lunch like every single day.
I can't even imagine that.
And I'm like, how can you? First of all, if I ate like that, I would weigh 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going out and buying a $15 salad. If I'm going out and spending money on a lunch,
exactly,
I'm buying a good lunch.
You're not getting the big salad, Steve? What's going on?
No.
Me and Steve are very similar with that. We're not having the salad.
Yeah, exactly. And I ate breakfast at home, so those costs. To me, the main cost was the commuting.
Yep.
And the time, the time spent, which is it's not a dollar cost, but it is a cost.
But it is in a way, because you are that's time you're not getting paid for, and your time is valuable. Because if at 8 o'clock when you hit your clock, right, you're paid a certain amount of money, it's not out of the realm of possibility to think that you're worth that in the hour of the commute. Because it's an old idea that has just scraped the surface of kind of understanding It is very old school idea of you drive to work, you hit the clock, you do. It's very. We've learned very quickly. We've learned that it's not like that anymore, and we need to. The
And it
smart
doesn't
people,
have to be like
yes,
that.
It doesn't
yes,
have
me,
to be like
me
that.
not being one of them, but the smart people have to
Yeah.
get together and start to push our businesses forward to make it better for the next generations. Because if we could eliminate that hour commute, could you imagine how much work would get done?
Yeah. The speed and the
Absolutely.
efficiency would go
Yeah,
up. Absolutely.
It absolutely would.
Yeah.
I just see it in my company because I'm on the clock as soon as I hit the truck, and I'm off the clock. So you know how much more they get out of me?
All right. Well, listen. If Matt gets to be Frank, then I want to be Billy. I just want to say that right up
You
front.
got it.
That's
All right,
that's
Billy.
perfectly fine with that. I have
Okay,
no
good.
problem with that.
I'm
All right,
glad we
Billy.
can. Frank, we're going on to topic 2 here. As the Flyers and Senators get into a melee. That's nice.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry, I'm watching the game. Kind of.
Me too.
Where were we? Topic 2. Yes,
Topic 2.
Fast Company article. So we just got talking about how much remote work can save you. Well, here we go go in the other direction. How remote work screws you up. This article, it's not just you. Researchers say Zoom really does make you feel worse about yourself.
Oh boy.
Video conferencing has provided many benefits and conveniences. However, it isn't surprising that constantly seeing ourselves on screens might come with some downsides as well. Prior to the pandemic, studies showed that surgeons were seeing increasing numbers of patients requesting alterations of their image to match filtered or doctored photos from social media apps.
Wow.
Now, several years into the pandemic, surgeons are seeing a new boom of cosmetic and surgical requests related to video conferencing. In one study of cosmetic procedures during the pandemic, 86% of cosmetic surgeons reported video conferencing as the most common reason for cosmetic concerns among their patients. There are a number of factors that may lead to appearance dissatisfaction. A preoccupation with thoughts, feelings, or images of one's own appearance is linked to the action of mirror gazing or staring at one's reflection, which obviously you do on a video conference.
I'm doing that right now. Actually.
Yeah, right?
Staring
I do
at
not
you.
look at myself. I look at you guys when you guys are talking. I don't look at myself at all.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
Researchers suggest that this type of selective self-focused attention and mirror gazing can lead to negative fixations on specific attributes or minor flaws, which in turn intensify the preoccupation with these attributes. With the ubiquity of Zoom meetings, FaceTime calls, selfies, and the constancy of documenting our lives on social media, access to our own image can often feel inescapable. And for some people, this can magnify feelings of appearance dissatisfaction that may have been more fleeting before the Zoom era. One study found that those who engaged in more video chatting appearance comparisons, meaning those who looked at others' appearances during a video call and sized up their own appearance in comparison, experienced lower appearance satisfaction. This study also found that people who used more photo editing features on video chat platforms were more likely to compare themselves with others and spend more time looking at themselves on video calls. John, you're very vain.
Yeah, absolutely.
More
More than you would ever know, actually.
Oh man.
I would not be sworn in at the first ever presidential election with one tooth like George Washington.
Yeah. Speaking. Wow. Yeah.
But yes.
Is that all you got to say? What's
Oh my God! I want to rant on social media so bad.
Go for
Please
it.
do. Yeah.
That's
it's
what
your
we're here
podcast.
for.
This is what that whole filter has. The filter
Yes.
generation,
Yep.
the influencer generation. This is just proof that we are vain as humans anyway. Oh, we all are. Like you're not going to go out with a booger hanging out your nose. You know what I mean? With an eye boogie, you're not going to go into a meeting. Like everybody.
Look, that's
likes
not
to shave off
vanity.
every-
Hey, that's not vanity. That's just good
But that's what I'm
It's
saying. Like,
keeping up.
but people are using these filters at they're just
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
cloning their face over, so they don't even have to worry about it. So it makes it even worse when they have to when they can have a filter. They're gonna have a fixation on, well, I don't like the way my cheeks are, and I don't because when I'm on Instagram, I could just make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't played with. I don't know what those filters are like. I don't understand any of it. I've never played with it, but I know a lot of the people that I'm friends with on Instagram, and they don't look like that in person. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
There you go.
Male and female, like, bro, you know, trust me, I just saw you last week. You don't look like that.
I've played with just because other people in this household have phones that have these things. I've played with the ones that make you look funny.
Yes,
go.
Never
No,
never
I've
the ones
definitely
that are
done
like
that, yeah.
yeah.
They
Never
brighten
the
something
ones
up,
that yeah,
or,
exactly.
Yeah, you're
Exactly.
making your eyeballs bigger or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
something like that. Yeah.
understand the cleaning up the process. I mean, I just
I don't
clean it
get
up. Like, I go in the
Yeah,
mirror.
I don't.
You've seen me with a large goatee and hair long, and because I do that on purpose most of the time. Like, I'm just doing it because I like that look. But I do clean up, and I can clean up. But I go into the mirror. I have a big ass mirror in my bathroom, and I go, I want to change it up, and then I bring out the razor and I fix it up, and then I go get my hair cut, and I fix that up, and I go, it look fine. Like, I spend very little time in front of the mirror, as long as
No.
when I'm getting ready in the morning. Okay, is everything in the right place? All right, I can go out presentable to the world. Good. I don't worry about that stuff. I mean, I know I'm ugly. I've been ugly my whole life, so I'm perfectly fine. I'm 44 at this point. I'm good to go. I don't need to worry
It
about
only
it.
gets worse from here, Johnny.
Exactly. I'm gonna lose my hair one day. It's gonna suck.
I mean, Matt almost lost his dentures earlier in the program.
Yeah,
there you
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I'll
Everything
confess.
turns gray. Like, what's going on there? You know?
Right. I'll confess, Matt, that I probably do look at my image when I do video calls more than I should.
Okay.
But I think it's more of just a distraction because I'm moving and I see that moving and so I look at it. And I would prefer, I think Zoom does allow this. I think you can turn off your own.
Yes.
Like, you don't have to see your own feed.
Yeah, exactly.
Every video that I've used for work, our videos are off when we log on, because it's normally a large group of people and there's one presenter. So yeah, and I think in all of those conferencing, you don't have to have the video on. It could just
No. I'm not talking about turning the camera off. What I'm saying is not seeing your own video feed on the screen.
You can turn the camera off, but you can turn it off for you to see. There's functions that you don't have to look at your image.
Yeah,
It's probably on this platform. I'm pretty sure that
I've tried, but I can't find that option.
I'm still trying to figure out how not to. I would rather just get on the microphone and talk and look forward to the camera. It would be less distracting. It really would.
Exactly. Well, I mean, Matt, so I mean, do you have the similar experience, or are you able to kind of not look at yourself?
It's funny. It's like, I'll look at myself, but I'm not self-conscious about myself. It's like, am I making good eye contact? Am I speaking well? That kind of it. Am I conveying like my good, if there's any good speech that's eventually going to come out of my brain? I don't know. Maybe it's the alcohol. I don't know. But no, I really don't use that as like a negative. I guess I'm rare in that regard. I just don't. It doesn't bother me all that much. What does bother me are these stupid background filters that you have to put into the background. That bothers the hell out of me. In particular, when I'm on calls and I know somebody's branded by the organization. It's like, oh, okay. And I'm not, it's like, well, what's going on there? That kind of, I try to
do the blur backgrounds.
Try to do the blur? Yeah.
Because that is, to me, is less distracting.
Yeah. For me, it's like when I work on the other side of this wall here and I have it like up against like, my window in the living room. It looks out over a hallway, basically, that goes all the way straight back. And I have basically the lights turned off in the back. You really can't see much, but you see like my air filter and of course like the Legos that are back behind there.
Mhm.
And that's okay. Like, I don't mind that. If I see something on the dining room table, which I'm next to, and I put like Tide, like on my, on my dining room table, I'll take that down. That kind of, it's like,
Yeah.
you know what? Maybe I'll need to take that off the table. I get rid of all kinds of other things. Like if there's beer on there, or if there's some other type of thing, I try and clean it up a little bit more.
Sure.
In that regard. So, I mean, from like, I guess you could say a quote unquote branding perspective, I do want to make it clean, all that kind of stuff. And, from a visual perspective, it's like, okay, this guy does have some things together. He doesn't have his socks over on the floor. He doesn't have his shoes over there. That kind of his pants lying down all over the place.
Well, see, the blurred background takes care of that because it blurs it all
Hey,
out.
don't worry about
But
where
I
you
do.
put-
But
worry
the
about
point
where
is,
you
like, I
put your
take care of
socks,
that
just
stuff,
blur it.
right? Yeah. The point is, I take care of that stuff. Like, I pick it up, I get rid of it, all that kind of stuff if I'm on a call, that kind of a deal.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's like I mean, I could see it, but to alter your own appearance, like to go to a surgeon, that's crazy. That's
Absolutely.
a little bit nuts. That to me is like, that's some deeper psychological issues that's going on there
Mhm.
that really, I think, doesn't need to be there, in that regard. Like, you don't need to think about that. You're already okay as as an image bearer, that kind of a deal. So you could just breathe a little bit. You don't have, there isn't so much pressure, but just be cognizant of what's going on in your entire environment. Don't take a Zoom call, right? Don't take a Zoom call in your bedroom. That doesn't make any sense. Like,
Sure.
no one wants to see your bed, like your bedroom clothes all over the floor.
You
or
mean
all
like
kind
that
of stuff.
judge?
Yeah, exactly. Like a judge, like, or if you're on a call, like in particular, like if you're in a class, if you're doing an online class, you want to do it in a position that is presentable.
Yes.
You don't take it from your bedroom. I've always found that weird. It's like,
Mm.
you have no other place. You can't put it any other place other than your bedroom. Really? Let's think about this for a minute. That kind of a deal.
Well, certain people, high school students, for example, I could
Mhm.
see that being an issue,
Sure.
but usually you'll have a desk or something in your room
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you can, you're not taking it from the bed. That's the one that really bothers me.
That's
It's
the
like,
one that bothers me too. Yeah.
I didn't bother to get my ass out of bed to talk to you on the
Mhm.
video today. So,
Yeah. So little things like that, that's like, okay, you just have to be aware of like your own exterior environment. Don't be so worried about like what people think about you. It's like, well, they have their opinions, you have your own. It's okay.
The secret is, and I learned this a long time ago, what you think about yourself is so much more critical than other people think of you.
yeah.
And it took me years to,
Yeah.
even through this podcast, Matt helped me through many times where, I presented myself and I presented my opinion, but I would sit there for hours afterwards and be like, well, no one's gonna like me, and why did I say it like that? And Matt had to like bring me back and like, dude, like, it's your opinion, like, go bleep anybody who is like, who
Yeah.
doesn't, who's gonna fight with you about that, because that doesn't matter. You're getting your opinion out. And that was huge for me to kind of look at, I said what I said, and that's the way I live my life now. I said what I said, and I don't care at this point.
Yeah.
I barely
Exactly.
care about the opinion of myself, so I'm not going to care about someone else's opinion about me. Like,
Well, the article, to wrap this up, the article does have some tips for you if you struggle in this area.
Let's bring it.
One is to be intentional about focusing on what other people are saying in a video conference instead of peering at your own face.
Yep.
People should be conscious of their comments, no matter how well intentioned. Negative comments about appearance have been linked to worsened self-esteem and mental health. So when viewing yourself or your peers on video and social media, try focusing on the person as a whole and not as parts of a body.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And then finally, reducing screen time can make a difference as well. Research shows that reducing social media use by 50% can improve appearance satisfaction in both teens and adults. And when we say reduce your social media, it's your new Too Noobs social media.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch
keep
Too Noobs.
us
It's good for
100%.
It's good for
Everything else cut.
Yeah.
Everything else sucks.
All right. Well, I think we'll take a quick intermission here to plug the website, which is now up and
Whoa.
running fully.
Yeah.
Finally got around to it. It's all good stuff. That's twonoobstalking.wordpress.com. You go there, you will see we'll post our episodes weekly as they come out.
There you go.
You also learn a little bit about the hosts here. What else do we have in there?
Links to socials and
Links to
socials. Yeah.
Yeah, links to socials and where you can listen to us on audio, which is funny because some of the ones that we posted up there, I had no idea we were on until I did a Google search. So
Isn't that awesome?
Last.fm. I have no idea what that is.
So there you go.
But there we go. We're on.
Thank you.
We're
All
on
the
it.
behind the scenes work of finding random things to put us on.
So that's twonoobstalking.wordpress.com. Go there and look at it.
There you go.
And going on to topic 3 now. New York Post article, so we've got to be on the lookout for typos here.
Can I sit down for this? I don't know, gents. This is gonna be
Well,
interesting.
this is one for the weird file, but I also think I could put my tinfoil hat on. Bigfoot spotted in Colorado in broad daylight, and it's all on camera. We're convinced.
Oh yeah, here we
Matt's
go.
giant sigh convinces me that he's not convinced. John, on the other hand, let's see. So a couple on romantic break in Colorado claims to have captured the mythological creature Bigfoot on camera, wandering on the side of a mountain before sitting down to rest, all in broad daylight. Professed eyewitnesses Shannon and Stetson Parker, enjoying a trip for their 10th wedding anniversary, claim to have observed the legendary lummox while enjoying a sightseeing tour on the narrow gauge rail line between Durango and Silverton in the Centennial State's far southwest.
Just interrupt you real quick. They got really good taste. I've been in that area. Good on you. Good on you. That's awesome.
Oh, man.
We were looking for elk in the mountains, and my husband sees something moving and then can't really explain it. So he's like, Bigfoot. Shannon, a 44-year-old contractor from Cheyenne, Wyoming, told the Post. It was at least 6-7 feet or taller. It matched the sage in the mountains so much that he's like camouflaged when crouching down. If you asked before our trip, we would have said maybe Bigfoot could be real, but now we're convinced. And John, we all know you're convinced, so let's hear it.
I'm not convinced.
And Matt's going to play the video on right here while we're
well
talking. So
I'm not convinced, but man, the movements are not the normal Bigfoot of, hey, we're 6 feet in front of it. Look, he's walking across. Like it probably is not a Bigfoot, but it is something that and in pre-production, Steve, you showed the orangutan that stood up. If you put a grill in front of it, it would be the most viral video ever. You should probably get to work on that one. Animals can make human movements. A lot of them. I've seen squirrels make human movements in front of me, and I'm like, that is bizarre. Like, how do you know how to do that?
Doing?
Like, yeah, you're weird. Go away. So, is it Bigfoot? Probably not, because I've said this on the podcast with Steve before. I think there would be more Bigfoots. Like, I don't think it's a singular thing. There'd be more. Like, there'd be families of Bigfoots, and we would find them pretty quickly because this world isn't that big. But the thing that moved did not move like the other ones, and it looked human monkey-ish. So I'm intrigued.
All right. Well, Matt, the minute he saw the headline, put on his skepticals.
Yeah.
So let's hear
Totally
from Matt on this one.
Right here. Yeah, I'm not really sure how to really think of this, gentlemen. I think I've seen way too many Sun articles and other tabloids in my lifetime that makes me very skeptical of this.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know. Who knows what this thing could have been. But to be honest, it's like, I think the tabloids have really kind of been like, are you kidding me with this? Seriously now? We have found him after all of these years. It's like I just don't get it. I don't buy it. And the fact that it came from the New York Post is like, great.
Speaking of
Okay,
tabloids.
now speaking of
Yes.
tabloidish, right? I mean, it's kind of like, oh, great. Now what? It's kind of sometimes the New York Post does put out some really good articles, and then other times like this, it's kind of like, where are we going, boys? Like, what's going on here? Oldest newspaper in the country, too, by the way. So it's kind of, I don't know. I'm just skeptical, is all. I don't know what to make of it, to be perfectly honest. It is definitely one for the weird file for sure, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. Could there be an 8-foot ape? Sure, absolutely. Could he make hand gestures, hand movements like a human could?
Yeah.
Sure. We've seen the videos. I mean, Steve had one on pre-production. It was hilarious. It was like they're just waving at you and doing all kinds of
Pointing
really
over there.
you point over there.
Yeah.
That kind of, what the heck? So just skeptical.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see if we can convince you with more of the article. Shannon, who shared the video of the odd 1 to 2 minute sighting in a Facebook post, also said that the train's conductor told the couple of a similar previous non-human sighting. He said that he went out snowshoeing in those mountains before and had seen footprints that were larger and of much bigger stride than snow shoes would
That's
have
hard to
been.
say, bro. You get a
It
pass.
is.
That
No
is hard to
shoes.
say. Yeah.
He has seen unexplainable things as well. Parker said some were skeptical that it could have been someone, for example, a hunter in natural camouflage, or a prank pulled by locals for the benefit of unsuspecting tourists.
See?
It didn't look like a hunter because a hunter would have had a weapon like a bow since it's bow season, she added.
Sure.
It didn't seem to be carrying anything.
That is another thing. It was not carrying. You could see both hands. It wasn't. That's so. It's so weird.
I'm
So weird.
I'm with John in that I think Bigfoot, with the ubiquity of cell phones anymore.
Oh yeah.
And cameras, and the fact that there's not too much land area anymore that's not explored by people.
Sure.
Or government.
I would believe something more if you were talking about it came from the ocean.
Yes.
Just because the amount of ocean that has been explored, I think, is less than space at this point.
I think it's like it's a very low percent. I can't remember what it's very low percent. Like it was.
Yeah. What is it like the globe is what is it 70% water, I think,
Something
with the
like
oceans
that,
or something like that. So
and
we've only
very low
scratched the
percent.
surface of it. So it's ridiculous.
If you told me, I'd believe probably the Loch Ness monster before Bigfoot, because you're talking about something coming from a loch that's 1,000 feet deep and
the depths and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
That I'd be more likely to believe. This video was a little creepy. I will give it that. It was a little weird, and John's also right. It wasn't like the dude loping around swinging his arms. This was a little weird. And then he kind of sits down like he's gonna have a drink of water.
Yeah, it was.
It's somebody get an ape costume. I'm just convinced of it. I'm sorry.
I'm sure. I'm 85% sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, on the other hand.
No, it is absolutely. It might. I'm not saying it's Bigfoot. It's definitely something weird though, because this doesn't just pop up every day. It's not like we saw a Bigfoot here, we saw a Bigfoot here. This is It looked human and it looked apish. Maybe it was the background.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the camera angle. Maybe it was all that, but it could just turn out maybe it was an 8-foot dude that should be playing in the NBA, but he's lost in the wilderness. They make them that way. That kid in San Antonio is pretty tall. So what was he doing?
I was going to say, Johnny, we could probably put him on, next to Joel Embiid, have our own Twin Towers, right? I mean, at the end of the day, so who knows? But
if he could shoot a basketball, sure. But we don't need another Ben Simmons on the squad who can't hit nothing from
hell no.
He's closer to being Bigfoot than Bigfoot.
All right, 8 men. We're going to topic 4 here. And congratulations, by the way, to the Philadelphia Phillies for advancing to the National League Championship Series.
Look at that right there. How about that? That's pretty awesome.
They will play the Arizona Diamondbacks.
And have the home field for crying out loud.
Have home field. It's fantastic.
It's unbelievable.
Good stuff. Very good, well played series against the Atlanta Braves to advance 3-1. Too bad they couldn't win game 2 and get a sweep out of it, but it is what it is. But still, very good, very thrilling, very fun series for us Phillies fans here. But that and several other of the division series going on this year caused some dismay among
the punditry.
Well, I'm not really sure because I know bitter fan bases. I don't know how many writers have actually complained about it.
Yeah.
But fan bases, yes, and talk show and radio hosts, yes.
Well, just because they choked, in the last,
very true.
When they have 5 days off.
Very true. So if you're living under a rock, as John says, the way the MLB playoffs have worked the last 2 years is that the top 2 division winners get a bye through the first round of the playoffs. That means the other, 4 teams?
That's correct.
So 6 teams in for each National League and American League. So the other 4 teams in the league play each other in best of 3 series. The winners of those 2 go on to face the top 2 division winners of the National League or American League. So that means that the 1 and 2 seeds,
the division winners, is involved in that.
Yeah, I said so. The top 2, the top 2 division winners get a bye.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
What the lowest of the 3 division winners has to play in that opening round.
Yep.
And he gets the worst team in the
correct. Yes.
And the other 2 have
That's
to
correct.
beat each other up.
Okay, so what that means is the top 2 seeds, if you will, get 5 days off before they play a playoff game. And in the meantime, you have 4 teams who are going at it for between 2 and 3 games. So they've already got playoff battle testing going underway. Now, it happens this year. 3 of those top 4 division winners, it's the Dodgers, the Braves, the
Orioles,
all were eliminated in the division series. And last year, both the Braves and Dodgers were eliminated in the division series as well.
Sorry.
You okay there? You need a Heimlich?
Yeah, I might need a Heimlich. I don't know. Yeah.
So
it sounds like choking to me. I don't know. Maybe that.
I hear you. I mean, the Braves won 104 games this season. was 14 games ahead of the Phillies, and lost to the Phillies in the divisional round. And many are blaming these losses on that 5-day layoff.
Unbelievable.
And I think they're full of crap.
Well, if you're going to put it bluntly, why not?
I have one picture that proves you right. And this was posted by one of the Philly beat writers going into game 1 of the Atlanta series. And I don't, when I see it on Twitter, I'm not like, oh yeah, like I'm not that fan. Like I'm like, oh yeah, he's right. I wait for the games kind of thing. But as the series went on, it made more sense to me. So he posted a picture of Bryce Harper and Ronald Acuna Jr. And they were walking into the locker room for game 1. Both of them. It was, the whole fit check, the new cool thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the shirt that Acuna was wearing was a Acuna shirt, and it was promoting himself. Bryce Harper was walking into the locker room, and he was wearing a Trey Turner shirt. And the media personality said, this is the difference between these 2 teams. After seeing the series, I totally believe that.
Yeah.
Totally believe that. From what I saw, I totally believe that.
Yeah.
Matt, let me ask you this question because I find myself wanting to have been in the Braves' shoes going into this series. So because we had the Phillies had to play in the wild card round, they had Zach Wheeler, their ace, go in game 1, and Aaron Nola, their backup ace, go in game 2.
Yep.
Which they both won. Which meant, given the start of the series against the Braves, neither of those pitchers could go because they didn't have enough rest in between. We had to find a third starting pitcher to start that series. We settled on Ranger Suarez, who pitched very well for the innings he was in there for.
No doubt.
But at the same time, he had finished the year, the last month or two had not gone well for him.
Yeah, exactly.
And he also had 1 or 2 injuries this season, which had been cause for concern.
On the IL,
So we're going into game 1 against the Braves with our number 3, maybe, starter at the time.
Yep.
And the Braves are coming in with their ace, Spencer Strider, on the mound.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you have felt more comfortable going in with Zach Wheeler starting game 1?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially given the fact that you had Wheeler and Nola, who are your clear number 1 and 2, and you really don't have much in the way in the back because Michael Lorenzen has kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit. Obviously, hasn't learned to get back up yet. But then you also had Taijuan Walker, who I think is in witness protection. We don't know where he is right now. And Ranger.
He won the most games on the team this year.
He won the most games on the team, which blows my mind.
Season.
Yeah, exactly. And then you also had Ranger. And Ranger was, as you rightly put it, he was hurt and then also bounced back and then has had the ups and the downs as well. So he has not pitched like the Ranger Suarez did back in 2022. No question about it. All of that being said, if you're Atlanta, you're loving it because you have Spencer Strider on the mound, game 1. You supposedly have the greatest offense in the history of mankind going for you. You would think it would be an easy game 1 victory.
Per ESPN
It wasn't.
only.
ESPN projected that Atlanta would win 60% of game 1, and that didn't happen. That obviously did not happen. So it's more of a choke job on the Atlanta Braves. Bottom line, gentlemen, I mean, when you win 104, I mean, we've been through this. We went through this as the Phillies.
We were that team.
When we had the Cardinals, I mean, we had won, I think, the most games ever.
102.
Thank you. And we ended up out of the playoffs. It happens, and there's no one else to blame but those players that won all of those regular season games. I get it. It's a long grind. Now, all of a sudden, boy, you got a 5-game series in which you have to win 3 out of 5 in order to move on. That's hard to do. There's no pressure. Obviously, when you got 162 compared to 5, the pressure is more immense in those 5 games than there is the 162, obviously. So I think they were dealing with a lot of pressure. They were also struggling as well. Max Fried had a blister on his finger. Charlie Morton had a finger issue. And I think they threw in a guy, I think it was Austin. I forget who it was. Who's their game 3 starter?
Bryce Elder.
Elder, yeah. And he was just like, okay, we'll dust him off the shelf. And he goes in there in game 3, in a critical game 3. And Castellanos crushes every single pitch that he goes up against this guy. So it's like, okay, and Nick Castellanos was swinging a hot bat. So what are you doing if you're Atlanta? Honestly, really. Like, I mean, you didn't think this through. You put all of your eggs in the Spencer Strider basket, and it didn't work for you, obviously. Because then if if they had won, let's just say they won game 4, you don't have available in game 5.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. So
and to be fair, Spencer Strider didn't pitch poorly.
No, he did not.
No.
No, it was a dogfight with him.
Yeah,
no question about it. Yeah.
Neither game.
Neither game.
Yeah.
Neither game.
Yeah. So I guess all of that being said, this was more of a choke job in Atlanta. Now, I don't agree with any of the whole, we got to change, we got to reseed. I don't know about what you guys think about reseeding.
No.
That happened when the NHL did it, and the NHL was right to do it. I do not like the fact that in the NHL, you've got like 8 teams in your division, and then you play the 4 teams within your own division to get out and into the Eastern Conference Final. When all of us were in the 90s playing hockey, everything was reseeded, and it was fantastic.
I love
because it
the
was like, oh,
I like the
yeah,
reseeding and I like it in hockey. I don't like it in baseball. I think baseball has finally figured it out. They
yeah,
finally figured out how to put meaningful baseball
hmm,
in October and November. They finally
yeah,
figured it out. Like
yeah,
for what you can say about the commissioner, they finally have competitive baseball. And the
hmm,
regular season does not mean, and this is what I always hoped for with baseball, because it was always the regular season meant everything, and then the Yankees or the leading team, they would, easy through one, one division series, one pennant. Oh, it's over. We win the World Series. It's over.
mm,
The baseball finally figured out how to make it competitive
hmm.
during the end of the season, which it never was back when we were growing up.
No,
Never
True.
competitive. Now, like
never.
that Arizona team was as fun to watch as that Phillies team down the stretch. The Cubs
It
were
really is
fun to
remarkable.
watch.
Yeah.
It was a month or two of baseball that being a baseball fan, you had to tune in at least on your phone
Mhm.
or you know, finding a game to watch because it was meaningful. It was awesome. Baseball figured it out, and now the pundits are out here to tell you they didn't figure it out because the two winners didn't win because the Dodgers should win because they have a payroll that could buy the MLB,
Yeah.
and the Braves have the player that ESPN likes to whack off every 33 seconds during their. He's the greatest thing ever because he's a 40-70 player, which doesn't make any sense if you watch baseball. For more
Yeah.
than 12 minutes,
It's not
40-70
even
doesn't mean anything.
Johnny, it's not even marketable. 40 to 70, 40, 70? Really? I mean,
Right.
that's what we're going to
The
come up
only
with?
way you could market that is if he wore the 47 New Era cap, but they banned that for the MLB, so they can't. They can't even market that. They're so dumb. They can't even market that.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
They could have
Yeah.
tried.
No, yeah, it's a great tournament. I think it's a great tournament. Now, especially when it was first happening last year, it's like when we won game 1 in St. Louis, I was like, oh crap, if we win the next game, we're on to the next round. And all of a sudden it's like, damn, that's freaking awesome. I love that. It's like that got me hooked, line, and sinker when that happened for
And
sure.
that's the point. And
Yeah,
they
that's the whole
finally
point.
figured it out. That's why the
Yeah,
critics
exactly.
don't make any sense to me. People actually like baseball. And now the critics are like, you can't like baseball because it's rigged. Like,
Yeah.
what? Like, dude, it took you 150 years to get here. Like, sit down and shut up.
Steve, what do you think about all of this complaining and all this stuff here?
The
What do you think?
reseeding I'd be fine with. I don't
You don't have a problem with that?
I don't have a problem with that. If you want to reseed, that's fine.
That's fine.
It works in. They took it away from the NHL, but I liked it when it was there. They do it in the NFL. As far as I know, they do it in the NBA, right? I mean,
I believe so,
I
yeah.
seem to recall.
No, I think that's a bracketed system. Kind of similar.
Are you sure? I think
I
they
think it
reseed.
is, yeah. 'Cause I
Well,
think
they
when-
should. If they don't, then they should.
They should reseed.
Sixers, okay, Sixers, right? They were the
Yeah, they were
what were
4.
they were the
They were
4 seed.
4. Yeah.
Were they?
Yes.
I believe
Last
so,
year.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
could have sworn they were the 3rd seed because they played Boston
It could have been.
in the second round, and Boston was the 2. I think. Well, we'll have to look that up later in post.
Yeah.
The
in
Heat
that
was
respect,
there.
whatever.
Further out there.
But the
But anyway,
the 5-day layoff thing really pissed me off because I think the people making that argument aren't thinking this through.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I wrote out points.
Okay.
So I'm gonna.
Good. This
Let's do it.
is why during the 3-year. This is why we brought him up.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So point number 1.
Okay.
5-day layoff has not seemed to bother the Houston Astros one iota
Yeah.
the last 2 seasons. Now has it?
Nope.
They've been cheating, but that's another
Well,
story.
yeah, it's totally different issue. But a team that has been there, knows what it takes.
No question.
The 5-day layoff, not a problem.
Not a problem.
If memory serves me correctly, also the Yankees made it through last year despite
Mhm.
having a bye.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They may have squeaked through, but they made it.
But they made it.
So you can't blame losing on that for them.
Mm-mm.
The Dodgers and Braves, who are the 2 teams the last 2 years this has happened to,
Mhm.
are both notorious
Mhm.
playoff chokers.
Yeah. Yes.
The Braves going all the way back to the 90s. They won.
Dodgers,
They won
especially.
one World Series in '95 amid
Five.
all that dominance in the
And
90s.
they've been good
Yeah.
for the entire time we've existed on this planet.
Yeah, basically.
Braves have
yeah.
been legit contenders the
Yeah.
entire time we've existed.
That's true.
Absolutely.
And they won championship.
Well, they won another one
And they
2
won in
years ago,
21.
but they won in 21.
I
But
don't
again,
count
that's a
that.
long.
I don't count that.
Well, the Dodgers won their World Series in 2020,
Yeah,
but
that
in the
was
entire Clayton Kershaw era,
Mhm.
they have been known, even before this whole wild card thing and the 5-day layoff showed up,
Yeah.
they have been known to underperform and underachieve in the playoff situations.
Steve,
that
prior
Tony
to that, Steve, prior to that,
Mhm.
the when the Dodgers won the 2020 World Series, which is a huge asterisk, which we won't get into.
Oh, it totally is. Yeah.
Hey, at least
Yeah.
it's not at least it wasn't a Disney World like the LeBron championship.
the last time they won it, prior to that, was 1988. That was the Earl
Right.
Hershiser World Series, basically against the Oakland A's. Yeah.
But in the last, I want to say, decade,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
the Dodgers have been a very high performing regular season team
No question.
and routinely fall flat on their faces
Yep.
in the playoffs.
Yep.
So you have two teams that this has been happening to
Sorry.
have a reputation even before the last two seasons.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I gave you guys the example in pre-production last night. Let's say we're down to the championship series, it's best of 7. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One series ends up in a sweep. So one team wins in 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say, for the sake of argument, game 4 of the NLCS and the ALCS were on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
So, and let's say the other series goes 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
So game 5 would be played the next night, as it typically is, because it's a 2-3-2 format.
Yep.
That's one day off for
Yep.
the winner of the other series.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to have a travel day for that 7-gamer. That's 2 days
2.
off.
Yep.
Then you have game 6. That's 3 days off.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have game 7. That's 4 days off
Mm-hmm.
for that other team that's swept.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to start the World Series the day after game 7. So
No.
that's at
Always
least
it's a day or two.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's at least 5 days off.
Mm.
How is that any different?
Yeah.
Oh, well, once a team sweeps, the other series should just be over because otherwise it's not fair. Just pick whoever's ahead at that point and let them play in the World Series. It's
Loser. Loser. Yeah, that's all it is, basically. Yeah.
and we see this routinely, both in baseball and other sports. The top team, the top seed,
Yeah.
routinely does not win the championship in the
Yeah.
playoffs. The Boston Bruins in the NHL just last year
Yeah.
were ousted in the record-setting.
Which was
They set the
fantastic.
record for wins in the National Hockey League in
Yeah.
the 100 and plus years.
Probably
They
I think
were
it was
kicked out in the first round by the Florida
Yeah,
Panthers.
Florida Panthers. They were the greatest regular season team ever in National
Yeah.
Hockey League history. Ever.
Absolutely.
And they choked it.
But
away.
it's too different that you can't
What do you think?
say you can't say like the Bruins are terrible. No, they were a great regular season team. They're terrible.
Yeah, no
They're
question.
terrible.
Yeah.
Just like the Braves. The Braves were the Braves. If you were to be a Braves fan and you were to watch that regular season, that was probably the most fun you had for 200 days because they were amazing. But they're not built for the playoffs.
That's the thing.
The playoffs
Mhm.
are we've played in playoff scenarios, me and Steve, where
Mhm.
the team that was supposed to whoop our ass didn't
Yeah.
whoop our ass. They would have whooped our ass if we were playing, we played them
Meaningless regular season.
14,
Yeah.
15 times a year. But when you have to
Mhm.
play, a go get it game, it's a
Yeah.
different kind of mentality.
No question.
There is no
Yeah.
going
And that-
home. And the point of winning in the regular season is that you get time off to rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said at the beginning, would you rather have had your ace go in game 1
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
plenty of rest, or do you want to be
Yeah.
dipping into your 3rd, 4th, 5th starters at that point?
Yeah.
Is the real question. And
Yeah.
that brings me to what I think is the real problem for
Mm.
these teams is the Braves clinched the division
Yeah.
like 2 to 3 weeks before the regular
prior.
season ended.
Yes.
And instead of continuing to play at the
Mhm.
pace that they had been playing all year,
Yeah.
they went into cruise control
Yeah.
because there's nothing left to play for. Well, maybe there is something to play for.
Yeah.
Well, he could have been.
That was
he
the
could
one
have been
thing
a
that really
50,
shocked
80
me.
player.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Even when the Phillies won in 93, guys, I can remember them. Like, I mean, they were drunk, obviously, the next day. They were, that kind of a deal, which is to
I
be
think they were
expected. Because
drunk the entire time. I don't.
Oh,
Think,
no question about it. Yeah.
I
No question
don't
about it.
think-
But it wasn't like they didn't take the because they won the NL East early, if I remember correctly,
Mhm.
early on. I mean, they won it by like 10 games, I
I can't
believe.
recall.
Yeah, it was.
I can't
It was.
recall. It was probably comfortable. I think
Yeah, it
you
was a
may be right.
comfortable win.
It was definitely comfortable.
But then they started, okay, got to get geared up. And that was right into the National League Championship Series. Right into it. No playoffs, none of that. So it wasn't until they started like towards the end of the month of September, okay, we got to get everybody back. Let's get everybody playing some time, get playing time and all that kind of stuff. The one thing that really amazed me about those Braves, Steve, to your point, they definitely went in cruise control. I would even argue that they put on the anti-lock brakes and stopped playing in that regard.
And I think a lot of teams in that situation do that.
Absolutely.
They
And
say, "Well, we're
showed.
already a top seed. Why do we need to,
What's
play
the
hard?"
point? And I get it, but at the same time, you know that you're going to have a target on your back when you're the number 1 seed. I don't care who you are.
Absolutely.
You got to be ready. You have to be ready. You cannot just say, "Oh, well, we're just going to go in there and cruise control, and everything's going to be just fine. We're going to win the series in 4." No,
They had a
absolutely not.
chance late in the season to eliminate us from playoff contention.
Mm-hmm.
They had a chance at the end. I remember us talking about it, like when they had the 2 series in a row. Like we were gonna know where we were at.
Yeah.
Clearly, after those 2 series, they had a chance to annihilate us, and they wouldn't have had to deal with us. They could have got the Cubs. They could have got the hapless Cubs and walked right through that series, and they didn't.
They're not hapless. They're lovable. Come on, they're lovable Cubs out there.
Well, that brings up a good point.
Bad.
Not only,
For
not
being
you,
a
man,
good team,
John.
they're bad.
That brings up a good point, which is, all right, so not only are you shutting it down, for whatever reason, shutting it down early, you've now given confidence
Yes.
to a team that you're going to be seeing down the road.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Because now they know they can beat you, even if you were resting guys at that point.
Mm-hmm.
They've seen you on the field. Now they're building confidence. Hey, we beat these guys.
Yeah, I struck
know?
that dude. I struck that dude out 5 times in 2 series. So don't you think a pitcher like looking at Ronald Acuna being like, "I got him, I have him,
Right.
I have him, and I'm
Castellanos
sharing
against
the
Elder.
knowledge. I have him now.
Castellan-
I know."
Yeah. Castellanos
Absolutely.
against Elder, same deal, right, Johnny? I mean, it's the same
Yeah.
exact deal, just
It's
on the batting side.
Baseball is all about success to failure. When you get success, Bryce Harper said this a million times. When you have
Yeah.
success with a guy, you're not watching film. You're more relaxed. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I hit 600 against this guy. Like you're gonna be more relaxed than you are gonna be if you're against Nolan Ryan in the 80s and you're like, I haven't had a hit off this guy since the Nixon administration. What am I gonna do? Like that's gonna.
You're not
But
tying the bat up, all that
And
kind of
that's
stuff.
created by the regular season stop because you create these things, especially with the athletes now with the short term thought
Yeah.
process. I remember
Mhm.
Darius Slay said this, what was it, 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago. He was talking about playing against a wide receiver that ate him alive. And he was his idea of I have to work harder because I'm not good at this dude. And the flip side of the interview was talking about, oh, what was the guy that you have like a quarterback that you have 6 interceptions? No, I don't need to worry about that because I already have that down. I already know that. That's already in the vault. Kind of thing. And I hear that with the athletes nowadays. They have more video, they have more preparation
More
than
technology.
ever before.
Before. Yeah.
So you down you pulling it down a little bit and giving them more film to work off of, that of course you're gonna lose, because it's not gonna work out well for you.
Sure. No.
So it's not just the 5 days off. I think it's the shutting it down 2 weeks in advance,
Yeah.
plus the 5 days. Now you haven't played meaningful baseball for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I think you have to find a way as a division leader to just play and keep grinding and keep playing. You know, yes, there's a risk of injury, probably less so in baseball than in other sports, but I think you just have to keep on playing.
I think
there's also a level of, when you're that good and that far ahead of somebody,
Yeah.
a level of complacency,
Oh yeah.
if not arrogance,
To your
also
point,
seeps in.
to your exact point, Steve, and I'm glad you brought that up. The Phillies played the Braves a week later in Truist Park. Took 2 out of 3 from
Right.
them.
Mhm.
And if you saw the Braves play that series, they were sleepwalking. They were completely sleepwalking. So what a worse message to send, right? If you're at Atlanta, than the sleepwalk through an opponent that you know down the road, whether it's going to be in division or the championship series.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, at the end of the day, you have to be ready to play. And they were not. They were clearly not once they clinched the division. And to John's point, they weren't built for postseason baseball. That's just the bottom line.
And here's the last point I wanted to make.
Yeah.
Teams like that, like the Bruins, the Braves, the Dodgers, they get up to these huge leads. They clinch early. I think there's something to be said for facing adversity in season. And you learn how to deal with adversity when you have it in the season, and that better prepares you for playoff baseball. And I think what happens a lot of times to these teams that are so far ahead of everybody else, they never have to face it until they get to the postseason, where you're right, every pitch, every at bat means something.
So much. Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
And now you don't know how to deal with it. You get behind early and you don't know what to do because you haven't been in
the
a
bat
position.
tighter. You're doing all kinds of stuff that you're not doing in the regular season. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Take
John.
Acuna as the final point to this. He had 70 stolen bases in the regular season. Where was he on the base paths?
Nowhere.
In those games.
Yeah.
He was stuck to first base because they had so much film on him.
Yeah.
That they held him, and he couldn't do what he could do to the hapless teams that maybe aren't in playoff contention. And my point with the Phillies is Trey Turner is stealing bases in the divisional round. And
left and right.
and the guy who led the league in stolen bases was stuck to first base. You kind of got to look at
the two different franchises. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then also too, I think Harper's home run is still going. I don't know. That one will.
That's a
come back.
totally different issue.
I said
shouldn't blame it on that either. But
I've said this on the podcast a million times. My wife does not watch baseball with me at all, and I love to play around with her with baseball. And when Bryce Harper hits a home run to anybody, I mean, talking Castellanos, to Schwarber, everybody, I always play a Bryce Harper home run, and she can tell me it's Bryce Harper's home run by the sound of the bat.
Yeah. Hitting the ball. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Nothing like it. Yeah. It's just nothing like it else. Yeah. Yeah.
I will give, I have heard since the series ended, both Strider and the coach, Brian Snicker, have both, to their credit, they've come out and said the whole 5 days off was nonsense. That was not the reason they lost.
Yeah.
But some of the other players, however, have suggested otherwise.
You mean the ones that were chirping at the crowd instead of being in the game?
Well, a certain 40-70 guy apparently has.
Yeah, you're worried about the fat guy in the third row drinking a beer, giving you the business, and you're not worried about the guys on the field that are dropping bombs all over you.
That's such an ESPN made-up stat, Johnny. Seriously, 40-70. We're gonna mark it 40-70.
I have not run this past my father, who has ingrained baseball in me into a way of joy that I could.
Yeah,
I'm very thankful for the family I had in baseball that I consume. I love it. It's my favorite thing ever.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to my dad about this, but I guarantee you my dad, and I'll quote him before he even says it, and I will call him later, and I will get back to you guys on text message. That is the biggest bunch of made-up shit I've ever heard. That's exactly what he would say.
I'll check that with my dad too.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
we'll
mean,
take
he'll
Steve's
say the
fiddle
same
with
thing.
your father.
He'll
Yeah.
literally
We
say the
talked
same
about it.
Yeah.
We talked about it a couple weeks ago when,
Yeah.
when he
Yeah.
finally got the 70th stolen base against the Cubs and they paused the game. And we're like,
Really?
it wasn't like a milestone because he probably was the first 40-69
Yeah.
winner, but he reached a round number. So now we're going to celebrate.
Now we're going to
it.
celebrate this?
Why not just give that stoppage to Kyle Schwarber that hit a ton of home runs and had a batting average below Kevin
200,
Stocker
yeah.
in 1993? Like, why not? Like, that's impressive. Like, walks,
Yeah.
singles, and home runs. Damn, you're really good at baseball. Because you don't even have to hit for average. Kyle Schwarber made average look ridiculous this year.
Yeah.
It made Bryce Harper like what did he hit, like 386 or something like that? It made his average look dumb because
Yeah, I
he
think
had
it was like
he had better
295.
production.
People were worried about Bryce Harper's production. I mean, with his home run production, he was like, he hit 21 with
He got his
another
he
70
just had his
RBI.
shoulder rebuilt. Can we give this guy a break?
Like he's fine. He's fine.
Trey
No.
Turner at some point had like an 1800 OPS or something absurd
it's
like
ridiculous.
that.
Like you're talking.
I
The
mean, how
top
about the
five
city of
guys on
Philadelphia
this
saving
team
that
are-
guy's season? Good Lord.
Oh,
I
By
mean,
the-
man alive.
By the way, Bryson Stott is really good. Alec Boehm can't hit his way out of a paper bag, but he will very soon.
He will.
Petra just came around, and you got a young kid in the outfield that might, Brandon Marsh might,
Yeah. I think we're gonna
And
be fine.
Schwarber hasn't hit yet.
yeah, and Schwarber
No.
can't,
Schwarber hasn't hit
Schwarber
yet.
can't even
No.
see the ball at this point. He's struck out so many times.
Yeah. He'll hit again though. You never know, Johnny.
All right. So by the time this episode drops, we'll be 2 games into the NLCS?
Yeah,
That's
we'll
right.
probably-
Monday and Tuesday
Monday,
is
Tuesday.
game 1 and 2,
Well,
and then they'll be on
and
the
then
off day.
3
Yeah.
is Thursday. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
hopefully by the time you people see this,
yes,
the Phillies will be up 2-0.
2-0.
Who knows? Let's hope
There
so.
you go. Yeah.
And we conclude episode 159 with that because it's fun. And I'm all out of I'm all out of Hank's gourmet root beer.
Yeah, I finished my winter lager, so there you go.
There you go.
Yeah,
Oh, winter
so I
lager.
got-
Nice. That's a good choice.
Yeah. Might as well.
It's fall, Matt. It's
Yeah.
fall.
Well, and getting ready for winter.
I am wearing the hoodie today. It is rather
Which
There
is
you
great.
go.
Which,
today.
by the way, is a really nice hoodie. That's a good.
Oh,
one.
thank you.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that a lot.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Like I had the fat cat sleeping on it though, so there's probably fur all over
I'm
it.
sure. I'm sure.
So anything further we want to say, gentlemen, before we get out of here and move on to a round number of episode 160?
Oh, so it's
Yeah,
the
shout
greatest
out to all
episode
of
in
our-
the history of episodes.
There you go. Promo that son of a bitch, right? No, shout
I'm
out
in
to
the
all of our
160
listeners
club.
out there. Shout out to all of our listeners out there, and
Yes.
thank you for being such loyal listeners to Two Noobs. It's great. Love doing it. So there you go.
Absolutely. 2noobstalking.wordpress.com.
Hell
Check it
yeah.
out.
Check the website out, please.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah, I
share,
put a lot of hard work into
subscribe.
that shit.
Do those things that make us, get into the algorithm. Like, share,
Hell yeah.
subscribe, kick it, throw it, yell at us. We don't care. Interactions
Yeah.
are interactions. I don't care.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we'll talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to crap all over Matt's dentures,
It can
that's what
happen.
we'll do. We'll bend to your will, people.
There you go.
Well, until next week, I will say, see you later.
Hey everyone, thank you for spending time with us here at Two Noobs Talking. If you want more of Two Noobs, you can check out our entire catalog of our podcasts out on YouTube. Or you could search for us out on your favorite podcast listening platforms, such as Apple, Google, Samsung Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Wherever podcasts are available, we're out there. Hey, while you're there, would you mind leaving us with a 5-star review? Have a great week, and we'll see you again next week with another great episode of Two Noobs Talking. Take care.